Okay, so we are up to Mishlei 15:17. Tov aruchas yarak v'ahavasham mishor avus v'sinabo. Yeah, go ahead.
There is a meal of vegetables.
Yep. Let's use the more literal term, greens, right? Or you could just say salad, right? The avasham
With love there.
with love there. Mishor avus v'sinabo.
With a fattened cow and hatred.
Yeah, then a fattened ox, right? Fattened ox.
Bull.
Or bull, yeah. What's the difference between bull and an ox? Is it totally synonyms?
An ox is neutered.
Oh, okay, so fattened bull. Yeah, I always forget bull, ox, heifer. I always forget like what all the terms are. With hatred in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And as Moshe Koppel said, this sounds like a Nister pasuk. My intuition was the same way. I think because of the extremeness of the terms ava and sina, with, like you said, Moshe, like a mundane subject, and then also the weird use of the word avus. Yeah. Okay. So that is that. Wait, did I delete anything important? Yeah, arucha is a meal or allowance of foods, a portion of herbs, a slender meal. Slender is a weird word. Elsewhere of allowance given to the captive king Yehoiachin. Interesting. Okay, there's fed on salad. And then avas is feed or fatten. Yeah. Okay, so Mitzudas ציון says aruchas inyan ha'achila ha'tamidis b'chol yom. Okay, so he says aruchas is not just a meal, but a daily meal. Kamo va'aruchaso aruchas tamid. I think that's what we just read. And then avus is shem hamakom. Oh, sorry. So this is different then. Avus is shem hamakom shemafatmim bo es habehemos. So this is the I guess, is there a word for
silent, like a trough?
Yeah, so when he says the makom, I don't know if he means like the building that's housed or like the vessel, like yeah, so I'll just say the place where they fatten livestock, right? There's got to be a name for, like, in modern not agriculture, modern
horticulture.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, where they like, just feed the animals. Yeah, Isaac.
I think Evus, which I think probably comes from the same shorish.
Yeah.
Prof.
Right. So we have that in our Oxfeld pasuk, right? Is bein alchim evus bar, right? Yeah, right. So yeah, that's good. That's a good call. Yeah. I also wondered, I don't know if I was just thinking of what's that delicacy? Foie gras. That avaz is a goose. That I don't know if they did that back then, like, fattening the goose. I don't know if it seems like a reverse type move, anachronistic word association game. Okay, so a fattened bull or we'll just keep the Masudas here. Okay, fine. So either fattened, let's put this fattened bull or a bull fattening house, or bull fattening place. Yeah, right. Yeah, or I guess, yeah, livestock fattening place with hatred in it. Yeah, I mean, I think the translation we have is a much more intuitive translation, right? Like you're comparing like, one type of meal to another. All right, Sadigon has yeah.
What's shore of us according to him?
That's true. Yeah, it is bull, right? A bull fattening place, right? So a shore, right? So yeah, how do you say it? Mishor.
He doesn't say that even. He says Shevatin bo behemos kamo chamor.
Right. But here he's not ignoring shore, right? So it's either a bull fattening place or maybe a bull fattened in a place. Yeah. So let's say, yeah. I'm just gonna keep the Masudas here and not try to inject it into the translation we have. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, and by the way, that pasuk in Yeshayahu was also a good one, right? Yada shor konehu v'chamor avus ba'alav. An ox knows its owner, and a donkey knows the trough of its master, or the source of food of its master, right? So here, avus does not mean a fattened animal, right? So it's a good raya. Okay, Sadigon translates arucha sirak is liftan, davar hamartiv umarakech. Now, liftan, I know in halacha we use it as like an accompaniment to like spreads, basically, like, or like, a side dish, right? Davar hamartiv, something that moistens, right? Umarkich, and softens. Yeah. Okay. So he's saying aruchas yerek. I don't know if this matters, but aruchas yerek is like a side, like an appetizer, right?
Dress,
What was it?
dressing or something.
So I think like martiv markich, I think it's like you put it on the bread in order to make it more palatable, you know. So like a side dish, I think is the implication here. All right, the Targum. Oh, so I you know, it's funny, like. Clearly, like every time I put the Targum here, and like I know enough Aramaic to like make sense of it, but I'm always questioning my my Aramaic grammar, you know, especially in Targum Aramaic, you know. So I don't know why it's never occurred to me before. I just put it into ChatGPT and then said translate each word. Okay, so I don't know how accurate this is, but it's going to be more accurate than what I think. So Tava. Sherusa diarka varachamusa taman min tore mefatme bisigiasa. So good or better is sherusa. So this I think is a new point here. So service, benefit, or advantage, unless that's a part of a compound phrase. Tava sherusa diarka. Yeah, actually I don't know what that means. So vegetables. Varachamusa, which is love or affection or mercy. I think mercy is the common one. Taman there. Min, from, or here then, Tore, oxen, mefatme, fattened, bisigiasa. So they put it together as the good service of vegetables, and love is there. That's not a good translation at all. Yeah. So I would say better is, so shirusa diarka, I don't exactly know what that means, right? Better is
the benefit vegetables provide.
I guess so. Yeah, that might be good. Better is the benefit of vegetables.
When is shiur used as benefit?
It's a specific kind of benefit. It's like I'm trying to think of a good English word. I know we say like lashar, so is to serve, right? But or to minister, right? Is there a good word for a noun? The perk? No, that doesn't really work. So the benefit of vegetables with love there, then fattened oxen in abundance. Okay, so that would be our Aramaic translation. Okay, Art Scroll says better a meal of greens where there is love than a fattened ox where there is hatred. Okay, that's close enough to ours. We'll delete it. Rav says better a dish of vegetables where there is love than a fattened ox where there's hatred. Alter says better a meal of greens where there's love than a fattened ox where there's. All right, fine. So that's pretty much what we have. Okay, so let's do this. Let's move these upstairs, and then go to our questions and problems. Yeah. Okay. What are the questions and problems here?
Where is the love for hatred coming from?
Where's the love? Yeah. All right. Right. Where?
Source of the love.
Yeah. I let's ask it on both. Let's first ask on the direct thing, which is where is the love and hatred? Right. Right. Meaning where is Sham and Bo? And then where does this love and hatred come from? And those might be the same question, answers to the same question. Yeah, David? Yeah, what is the Hava Amina, right? What would we think before reading this pasuk? Yeah, Ezra?
Why is Sham and Bo different? Why is one Sham and one Bo?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just put this, tack this onto this question, because I think that's just probably for poetic reasons. And actually, I should take that back. Yeah, no, right. I'll ask it as a question. Yeah. Likewise, what is the difference between Sham and Bo? Are they, or are they just synonyms, or are they just poetic, synonyms changing about? Yeah. Yeah, David?
What is Aruchat Yarak and why Aruchat?
Yeah. Okay, so what is Aruchat Yarak? Why specifically Aruchat? What's the pasuk I'm thinking of? So for example, you have the one, we're going to get to this probably next year, but one of the pesukim I teach in my introductory Mishlei class is in chapter 17. Which is Tov pas chareva v'shalva ba min bayis mali zivchei riv. Better a dry piece of bread with tranquility in it than a house filled with meat of strife. So pasuk is like a single food substance or an object, but arucha, it seems to be like a type of meal. Like it doesn't just say like yirakos or something like that, Yeah. Yeah.
How is it different than the pasuk you just brought up?
Yeah. Right. I'll put that as a side question. How is this different from Yud Zayin Aleph? That's an extraneous question. Yeah. Yeah.
Who is the one eating it? Or I guess for whom is the meal?
Right. Okay. So let's actually just broaden that question here, which is, what is the setting and or decision-making scenario? And I'm combining this into one question because it's quite possible that this is not addressing a case where you're sitting down to eat. This might be an idea being expressed through eating, but then the decision-making scenario is a separate place. I also want to ask on the love and the hatred before we say where's love and hatred, what do we mean by ahava and sina here, right? So just as a side point, I feel like we talked about this recently, that in biblical Hebrew and in rabbinic Hebrew, ahava does not have the same connotation as in English. Like in English, when you're an elementary school student on the playground, you say, do you like her or do you love her? You can't say that in Hebrew, right? It's just ahava. Ahava means like, positive feelings of, closeness or whatever. So same thing with sina in English, we you reprimand kids. Hate is a strong word, but like in Hebrew, hate is not a strong word. Like maybe a better word for ava is affinity. Affinity is like just more mild and broad, and disaffinity, enmity. I don't know. Yeah, those are also strong words. Yeah.
More like positive connotations, or
yeah, I'm just trying to say like it's a broader let's say affinity than fathomable with like I would even go so far as to say like opposition or antagonism maybe antagonism, which is not full on hatred. It could just be like some sort of like
It could be hatred, right?
it could be hatred. Yeah. It's like a broader spectrum here is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Actually, hold on, I'm going to reflect that in my formulation of the question. Are we talking like just two broad binary categories of like positive, what was it? Opposition. I think I do like opposition better than antagonism. Opposition. Yeah. So are we talking two binary categories of like positive feelings and negative feelings? Or are we talking about the extremities of these emotions? Yeah, Isaac.
Just going into just more translation question about ציון.
Yeah.
Like basically that livestock.
Yeah.
Would it be a valid read to say like, better a first half than an ox fattening place like?
That's what we're not sure about, right? Because we're not sure how exactly he's incorporating avus with shore. Meaning, is mishor avus a shore that is fattened in an avus, or a shore fattening place? That's what I'm not sure about.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I can maybe I'll just talk about what I would think it would mean if it's
Yeah.
fattening place.
Yeah.
It reminds me of clip from an episode of from a show that I saw where this is two guys who really like eating, and they're talking about animals that get like fattened up for we started and like, oh, that's the life. Maybe it's like the like something like that.
Okay, so I'm just going to convert this into a question. Okay, which is what does shore avus? I guess how do we translate shore avus? Okay, how do we translate shore avus? So I think we have three translations, right? Is a fattened bull. B is a bull fattened in a I know fat farm is not what we call places where you fatten animals. We'll call it the fat house, right? That's not a thing, but like it sounds like frat house. Okay. Or a livestock, I guess a bull fattening place. Yeah. And then either way, what does this mean? Yeah. Yeah, David?
Currently, I have the Tov.
Good. Right. So 2 questions we always have to ask, which are, yeah.
Probably. I was just gonna. You want to say what you're saying?
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask: is there actually any positive in the Avos V'Sina, Shor Avos V'Sina bow?
Good question. Good question. Yeah. Okay. So let's say, so what are the 2 questions? Yeah.
Better or more.
Yeah. Better in what regard, and what makes it better? Okay. And just to again clarify the 2 questions here, meaning in terms of what, and then versus like, how do we know? Right. So you can make a claim that this is better, more satisfying than that, but a separate question of says who, how do we know? And then David's bringing another point is better implies that there is a good in Shor Avus V'Sina bo. So what is that good? That's like what's the phrase by Leah was hated, right? Which if you just read that in isolation, it would sound like Yaakov hated Leah, but then it says that he loved Games Rachel mi Leah, which means that he also loved Leah, which implies that there is love there. So when you have a comparative thing, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if this is inclusive of number 1 or not, but I guess the question is like this, like from what perspective is this being provided? Meaning this sounds like it's from the perspective of a guest or a recipient being served to.
Okay, that's a good question also, right? So I will include in the first one, I'll say like from what perspective or to whom, right?
It sounds less decision making and more like how am I being served?
Yeah, right. Yeah, like you're confronted with this scenario and what are you gonna like better, this or that? Yeah, David?
Within the Torah Yarak, seemingly there was an assumed negative. It's not just pure good. So what is the negative?
Oh, okay, that's a good question also, right? I'll put this here. Likewise, what is the negative in the Aruchas Yarak, which is kind of related to the Havamina question, right? Yeah. Like you might dismiss it because of the negative. Yeah.
Just to clarify the pshat,
yeah.
To make sure I'm on the same page. Like pshat wise, the negative is that it's vegetables and not meat, right?
Right. There might be a negative in the Arucha also, depending on what we have here. Right. The negative is not in the love. Right. Yeah. Isaac.
I was just gonna practically say just about that I think there's no protein in the meal of greens, and I feel like it's like not filling the same sort of life.
Right. It's definitely not filling. You could say it's not luxurious or opulent. You could just say this shows that everyone has always hated salads, from time immemorial. Yeah.
I was emphasizing about the aruchas,
yeah.
Like, if you have some vegetables, it's not then but the other things that are more
right. Yeah. Side related parsha fact. So apparently, this is in this week's parsha. Then that's when Klal Yisrael misses the flesh pots, right? So would that we had died by the hand of Hashem in the land of Egypt while we were sat by the meat pot while we ate our fill of bread. Right, for you took us out of Egypt into this wilderness to kill this entire assembly with famine. So I was looking at the Koran Tanakh in the land of Israel. So this is not a surprising fact, but like the slaves did not get meat. Okay, right. And not only that, but Egypt itself did not typically subsist on a diet of meat. They had meat on festivals, but most of their food was vegetables and legumes. So, even in a land of abundance back then, or at least in Egypt, then,
So what are they talking about there?
Well, that's a good question, right? Meaning the way this is my working idea is like you could still have someone from, let's say you have someone who, from America, like middle class, who like moves to a third world country, or we're not supposed to say that anymore, developing country, right? And they say, like, if they said something like, oh, I miss all the fancy restaurants. Like, they might not have gone to fancy restaurants a lot, but something about the reminiscing and focusing on like the glory of what the land has to hold. You know, it's like it's not based on the reflective of their actual experience. So that's my working shot. Yeah. Okay. Are we missing anything? I guess what's the practical application, right? Therefore, you should not eat salad, right? What is the practical application?
Don't go to John.
Who is the intended audience? Yeah. Yeah. You got a rhyme? No. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We got it? I think all the questions. All right. Ideas. Yeah, David.
So we're kind of good, straightforward. That
Sure.
It's not the object that's going to make or break your experience, but it's more
Friends we eat with along the way. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But more so, I mean, if there's like, if this is a meal, if it's with other people, it's the accompaniment that you have together with the meal, not just the item itself.
Right. Okay. So simple idea is it's not the meal, it's the company. Okay, right? Yeah. So now the question is why and so what? Right? Yeah.
Maybe just one more small step.
Yeah.
It's like broaden that.
Yeah.
Is that generally psychological pleasure is going to be better than physical?
Okay, right. Okay, so this shows the not the prominence, what's the word I'm looking for? Primacy, yeah, primacy of the psychological aspect of the meat, sorry, not the meat, the meal. I'm thinking about the Public 17 one because I have a specific example in mind. The primacy of the psychological aspect of the meal over the quality of the food. Yeah. You know what? Here's another thing. This is also very weird, right? You do eat an aruchas yara. You don't eat a fattened ox, you know, meaning it could just be, I'll put this into the question of the fattened bull here, which is moreover, you know, an aruchas yerek is an actual, you know, item you'd find on a menu, but a shore, I guess, yeah, a shore avus is not. In other words, even in the most, you know, even when they bring out the pig, the roasted pig with the apple in its mouth, no one in any society is bringing out an ox. I don't even think you can cook a whole ox, you know, in one go. Yeah.
I thought the whole point was like 50 meals of meat versus like one meal.
So that could be right. That it could be that. Now, the easy answer is to say that it's talking about like meat from a fattened ox, but you still have to answer the question. Well, I'll put this here: is and even and if you'll say it's talking about meat from a fattened ox, why express it in hyperbolic terms? Yeah. Yeah, Oren?
Just a quick question on that question.
Yeah.
Does the word shore have to refer to like the whole animal?
Yes.
It has to.
I'm like 99% sure.
Okay.
Yeah, like in other words, I think in the same way as like in other words, it's not a word like poultry.
Yeah, like chicken.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I have not done an exhaustive search, but I've never like. Okay, well, let's put it this way. If you just said, you know, are we serving ox? No, okay, maybe you're right. In other words, I think that's kind of what I'm getting at here is you could say it's meat from a fattened ox. That could be. Yeah. All right. So maybe it's not a question. Yeah. Still worth asking, but maybe it's not a good question. Yeah. Yeah. David and Huda and then
maybe
yeah.
kind of like level this up one more.
Yeah.
Particular point to our side of going, we're
Yeah.
talking about like it sounded like he was talking a little bit about like the process or the fattening of it. So I think,
Sadiq or Mitzus David? Sion, I mean.
sorry, that's
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think then so far as if we're looking to have a nice meal, I think that people put a lot of preparation into the practical and not as much into the things that Shlomo is saying actually make the difference. What makes the difference is the people that you're going to be having your meal with. We don't put a lot of thought into like having making sure that's good company for this meal. We'll put a lot into the having the fancy dish, the fattening up the cow, the other things like that. But that's not what's actually going to make it a nice meal. What's going to make it a nice meal is the psychological, the other like people that you're with, that's really worth putting your time and effort into in the preparation.
Right. So if the emphasis that I like that shot, if the emphasis is on the process involved in producing the meal, i.e., you know, the bull fattening operation. The chiddush is that you can have a more enjoyable meal with less effort in the process if you just focus on the company and the emotional state of those partaking. Yeah, atmosphere. Yeah. The company, the atmosphere, the emotional state of those partaking, etc. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I like that as a spin-off of the Mitzvah stuff.
Yeah, I think it doesn't say Tov Yerek, right, versus Shor.
Right.
It's Aruchas Yerek. So
Right.
I think that goes with like the Ava and the Shtam.
Yeah.
Meaning it's almost like when you're choosing almost like an Ava versus Lot. You're choosing like an experiential reality, right?
Yeah.
Like versus an actual chefsa, right?
Right.
Like choose the one that's Aruchas Ahava, right? Versus like the short avos, bow.
Yeah.
Right? Like choose Aruchas Ahava Sham.
Okay.
And choose the actual like. You have a choice of choosing like actually like an experiential, experience of Ahava versus like a perhaps better, more enticing chefsa Sham. Sinna Sham.
Right.
No,
Okay.
no,
That's
sorry, bow.
yeah. Okay. Good. So wait. So is I'm processing what you're saying as I'm typing it. So is this what you're saying? Meaning that the sham is referring to the arucha with the people and the whole thing, whereas bo is putting the emphasis on the havamina, which is it's in this delectable object. Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's the good kind of nuance that we're looking for when we ask the difference between sham and bo. Yeah. Isaac.
Yeah. Okay. So first off, I really like this idea.
Yeah.
I feel like Thanksgiving dinner is like an example. Like,
yeah.
Oh, people dreading Thanksgiving dinner because they're going to argue about politics.
Yeah.
With relatives.
Yeah.
Yeah. A separate thing. The
Yeah.
second idea. It's perhaps like a just maybe an explanation of the case in the second half.
Yeah.
So it's going with the ox fattening place.
Yeah.
And I'd say it's like some sort of like meat feast that where it almost feels like you're being like fattened up. Like example I give is like I went to a place in Israel called Papagayos where it's all you can eat meat buffet.
Yeah.
And like the name of the game is the Chilikasa.
Yeah.
They're like constantly bringing you more meat to
yeah.
So I think that's like the parallel of a meal of vegetables. There's like a simple meal of vegetables.
Yeah.
Versus like feasting on all.
Okay, so are you? I don't know if I heard this, or if I'm just like getting it from what you're saying. Are you suggesting that there is an implicit there's an implication here that the person partaking of this kind of meal is a shor avos, or is likened to the you already what you eat in that sense, or okay, right, meaning the subtle implication is that the person in the second half is akin to the fattened bull he's consuming, i.e. His preoccupation is with gorging himself with high quality food. Yeah. Ariel?
Yeah, I maybe just to add on to like a couple of ideas that we was throwing out before.
Yeah.
Maybe like I think like normally like there's three people here. One you like, one you're like, you want to get to know better, like whatever, you hate them or love them, and the other one's like you really hate.
Okay.
So I think that like the one who you really like, it's not gonna matter how like what you eat, like we discussed before, it's more like the company. But I feel like normally like one who you you like I guess the one to get to know, or like you don't really hate them or love them, like I think the food. I do think like having like good food will help bring that closeness into the relationship as opposed to like greens, vegetables.
Interesting.
So like there is a quality of the there's it's like if we go to like I don't know if we go to like Doma versus like Bravo Pizza.
I'll be zoche one day to go to Doma. I always see it and I'm like, oh, I can never afford this in my life. Yeah.
It's not like if you want to get to know someone and like them more, there is a value to like the fatty foods as opposed to
Okay.
salad.
I don't know. Okay.
I know.
And
It's hard to
I'll
say.
tell you a counter argument, which is that you always hear about people who travel to developing countries, and they go to these poor areas and they eat with like these people who barely have anything to offer, and they're offering like meager foods, but like the camaraderie is like way more than you would expect
Yeah,
from
it's different.
stuff. Yeah. But my main objection to what you're saying is I like the move of focusing on, this is what my Chavrus and I used to call the middleman theory of like, each pasuk in Mishlei is going to focus on the opposites, and then there's an unstated middle. So I like you're focusing on that. I just don't know if I would go with that inference,
I'm just okay, but I mean, I'm saying like I don't know why not? Like why?
Because of the counterexample I just gave.
Yeah, but it's not a good example because I'll tell you why it's not a good example because in other countries
Yeah.
you can't like there isn't an option of a fatty restaurant in America where there's
No. I'm saying something different. I'm saying that you as the spoiled, wealthy, fat American, like, going to this place and you're like, oh, they're just going to serve me like these, like tortillas.
That's expectation. When you go into a poor country, you're not expecting anything more.
Yeah.
In
All
America,
right. We have different intuitions. I disagree with that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, fine, but
Yeah.
okay, fine. I don't think it's gonna ruin the idea because now if someone who you hate,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you give them. You can give them the most
Right.
delicious food in the world,
Yeah.
like that normally would elevate the relationship better.
Yeah.
It will, it just won't mean anything. But in business, it's very common to take people out to like fancy restaurants to build that relationship.
Right.
As a counter.
Right. But the thing is though, is that I think there a lot of it has to do with the fact that you are treating them. Okay, meaning as opposed to the I think not a counter example, but an example that would like a nafkamina example would be you're eating with family, and you're eating like in this this opulent feast, and you hate people there. With business, a lot of the business thing is like showering favors upon them,
yeah, but it's fine, but it's building the relationship upon the food that you give.
So let me convert this into a question, okay, which is
Avramavina, give them a tongue and whatever.
Is the emphasis here the effect of the company, sorry, the company on the food, or the food, sorry, or no, I had a thought. I'm gonna delete it now. Okay, I see your hands. I just want to actually take this opportunity from what Ariel's saying and go a little bit more into depth into what Ezra pointed out. So can we just try to understand how does this work? Okay, in other words, like in this pasuk, okay, meaning like how does the ahava enhance the experience of and by the way, I think we're all taking the stance here that the tov is in terms of how enjoyable the experience is, right? The overall experience. Okay, well, everything we've said so far, yeah, right. The experience of the meal, and the sina override the default experience. Yeah. Like I know we all are aware of like, oh, psychology affects your eating experience, but like how in this particular way, right? Like for example, I think like it's easy to understand in the presentation of the meal, heightens the enjoyment because the presentation evokes the fantasy more in some way, or like there's an aesthetic pleasure, but like, and I think we've all experienced the company thing. By the way, side point, so I used to have a go-to scene for Mishlei 17:1, which we never figured out how I could play sound on whenever I've tried doing YouTube video, even though I can hear sound from Zoom, then the sound never worked out here. So what was it?
When you screen share, they have the option of share sound, like share screen sound.
Share with audience.
Yeah. Okay. So I can try that.
You might have to stop and then start share again with.
Okay. Right. Okay. So let's go. Signs meal. All right, so this is a old movie from let's see, is this anyone remember me showing this? Okay, so good. All right, let's see here. Yeah, this is Mel Gibson. Okay, so share. I was good. Well, share computer sound. Let's try this. No, it's not. All right, fine. We're not gonna mess with it then. I'll post this in the chat. I'll post it in the chat and talk about it there. But I just want to make a side point. The greatest depiction of this. So I used to have that scene as like the best depiction of this phenomenon, but there's one that overrides it, but it's an entire episode. Probably the best episode of television I've seen in the last like 3 years is in The Bear season 2. The family meal. Man, that is the best episode, one of the best episodes of television I've seen. And talk about like this phenomenon there. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So if you haven't seen The Bear season 1 and The Bear season 2 are excellent. Season 3 is not as good in my opinion, but yeah, anyway. All right, sorry. So Oren, yeah. Oh, sorry. We were working on this. We were working on this first. Yeah. Then we'll do Oren next. Yeah. Yeah, Ezra?
Well, I think in general, the reason people have meals together is not like the benefit and the enjoyment of meals is very little the actual food. It's very much the psychological experience.
Yeah.
Like you see that in a lot of examples. Like whenever you meet people, like you're talking about, you always meet over food. Like even Chazal talk about when you have a meal over food together and you don't speak Torah, it's Mesem.
Right.
You do Zimun when you have a meal together. I think it's definitely the main benefit in the experience of a meal is not the actual physical pleasure, but the psychological.
Right.
I guess I'm not really explaining.
No, but yeah, I think you are shifting though, because I think this is different than the way, I don't know what you meant initially. I think this is different than the way I understood it. I thought you were saying that you're not saying this, but that the surrounding enjoyment affects the enjoyment of the food. But now you're shifting it to saying this is talking about the enjoyment of the meal, and the ikr of the meal is not the quality of the particular food,
yeah, it's a little bit of a shift.
Yeah, meaning, and this might be the answer to the question about the of Mishlei 17:1, the dry piece of, because my pshat in that pasuk, okay, I might as well just say it. My pshat in that pasuk, oh, this is Shemos 17. Let's go here. Mishlei 17 is tov paskori v'v'shavlo minbayis maliziv riv. Better a dry, I don't like dry morsel. A dry pas means a piece of bread that is dry or stale is the better word, with tranquility in it, than a house filled with most of the meforshim say meat, contentious meat, right? So there, it's that you will enjoy inferior quality and quantity of food based on your emotional state more than you will enjoy high quality and quantity of food in a lesser state. But that's the food itself. Whereas this pasuk, according to the way you're explaining it now, is like the entire meal dining experience. Yeah. Yeah.
Why don't we necessarily talking about like a meal with other people, right? It could just be like in my head, this scenario is like Avram and Lot, like you're
right.
Going, like you'd rather be served with like basically being welcomed into an inn.
Yeah.
With all that positive experience and love.
Yeah.
Of inferior quality food, let's say, than going somewhere out of Taiva. Right. With the short avos.
Right. So I don't think it necessarily has to be dining with other people, but I think just the point of you need I don't. Okay, I'm asserting you need at least 2 people for there to be Ava and for Sina. So I think whether it's host to guest or 2 people sitting down like friends or whatever, yeah. Okay, any other thoughts on the psychology thing before we go to Oren? Yeah.
Well, I think there's also a certain fleeting experience of an actual meal of food. Meaning if you can have, let's say, a lot of meat, you can only eat meat for so long.
Yeah.
Whatever, one meal, and then afterwards you're gonna be tired because you're not gonna want any more. You're gonna be sick of it.
Yeah.
Like the papagayo or something like that. I mean, after a while, you're like, I'm gonna quit food for a while. You don't have that experience though. You're with good company.
Yeah.
And say, I really enjoy my friends, but I can't talk to them now.
That's interesting. That is interesting. So in other words, That's interesting. So I'll note that. That's an interesting thing, right? Is that there is there is a terminus to the physical pleasure of food, but not to the psychological psychological pleasure of ahava. And so, like, for this reason, you can get sick of the best quality food, but if you have an enjoyable meal experience with friends, you'll just want more. Okay, and even introverts who need a break will want to replicate the experience, like in the once they're recovered. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to Oren now. I mean, we can always revisit this, but looking at the ideas.
So kind of the similar idea, but kind of very different in a lot of ways. So you
Yeah.
guys have taken the bad of the yarak and the good of the meat.
Yeah.
Talking about like pleasure.
Yeah.
But I don't know why. Especially because I don't.
We like pleasure. Yeah.
I don't eat meat that much.
Yeah.
And I'm fine. So it must be that
well, no. Yeah.
I think the bad of the yarak and the good of the meat is not about pleasure, but it's about like calories and nutrients.
Okay.
Meaning that yarak is you just literally have less. You need a lot more. You need a lot more kinds of vegetables in order to have a balanced diet than meat, which gives you a bunch of protein and calories and whatever. And so that's why it's worse. And so I guess the halamer would be like if only I could just have the things I need and like I don't need anything else. Like I could just have my food and I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's actually not the case. You actually need a lot more than just the basic, I guess, like necessities of life.
Okay.
You need ahava. So it's actually better to have like a kind of a pared back diet with the additional psychological things that humans need rather than just the biological necessities.
Okay, so the Havamina is that all you need is this sounds like a very meat-y idea, so I'm going to be curious to see if he says that kind of thing. So all you need is the provision of your basic I know that you didn't use these words. I'm going to say physical needs.
Yeah.
Okay. Physical needs. And by that metric, meat is better than veggies, than greens, right? Certainly back then they thought that, right? Like, I mean, objectively now, you could say that as well. But I think I think that for them, meat was synonymous with like healthy food, so as opposed to, let's say, like in other words, meat was a luxury, but I think it was also like the rich can afford to eat everything that they need, from that. Okay. So then Kamash Malan, there are other needs, okay, like ahava, or avoiding sina, which are so important that they might be worth paring back. That's how you spell paring in that sense, right? Paring back your physical needs to get these other needs. Okay, I like that application. You have what?
Definition for its approach.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's about, I'd say, the nutrition value of, like a learning environment.
Okay.
So that let's say you have a choice between two shiur. One is like an objective, like a higher level shiur, like the ideas that are better.
Yeah.
And like you'd be able to run much more if you were like in that shiur and able to like think of it in the same way. But if it's going to if you're going to have so much emotional conflict about it,
Yeah.
like for whatever reason, maybe like then that's going to be worse for you than if you were just in like a lower level shiur and able to like cultivate your love for Torah.
Okay. Equals cultivating your love of Torah. That's good definition. Your love of Torah. Let's do David and then we'll stop for today. Yeah.
Okay, it's better not so much orange, but a shift.
Yeah.
Insofar as your focus as you're partaking in, say, eating or any pleasure, really, that and this I definitely got this from being in third world countries. The focus of just eating, like eating greens, and that's what you have. If that's all you think about,
Yeah.
and that's a wonderful thing that I have what to eat.
Yeah.
That is much better than having a lot more. Where your focus is on like but this isn't like perfectly medium rare, this isn't like something perfect. If you're focused on like getting the best out of whatever it is, there's going to be a focus on the negative.
Yeah.
And that's a much worse experience, even though, yes, it is a higher quality piece of food, is much worse than having a lot less, but your focus is on just this is a good even at all.
Okay, so I agree with your idea, but are you taking a stance on the ahava and sina?
Yeah, so the ava is like a love and appreciation, and the focus like for the ava is just a love of this thing that I have the greens to eat.
Mm-hmm.
That's simply enough.
Okay.
And then the sina is more the focus on any negative quality within this item, which I think particularly comes when you're looking to have an objectively best possible.
Okay, I'm going to write your idea down, but I disagree with it because I'm not convinced that ahava and sina are used about objects in that way.
Okay.
And sham, yeah, right, yeah. It feels forced into the terms ahava sham. I would accept it about the Yud Zayin Aleph, because there the tranquility is being described as a property in the object, and tranquility and actually I'm not even sure if I would accept it there, but I'll write this down anyway. But is that that if your standards are lower, I'm not saying that in a negative way. Standards are lower, in the sense that you can be happier with something simpler, then your overall enjoyment will be, this is not an articulate sentence, better than if you're caught up on like high standards of quality. Yeah.
Clarify a little bit.
Yeah.
Not as much talking necessarily the standard as much as the focus of what you think about as you're partaking in this thing.
Okay, if you're
it relates to it.
Okay. Okay. I'm just going to say clarification is depends on what your focus is in this experience. Okay. We were already a little over time, so let's stop for today. Continue thinking about it for tomorrow, and then go to the meforshim. All right. Good day. Yeah.